morning and welcome to Cheche, right here on Citizen TV, where opinion counts. Now, my name is Fred Ndimuli, sitting in for Udwa Kamimo. On Monday this week, CORD Co-Principal Kalonzo Musyoka, who is also the Wiper Party leader, proposed joint nominations and that the coalition be registered a political party. Yesterday, ODM leader Raila Odinga appeared to support that proposal that CORD should sponsor joint candidates in the 2017 election. In a statement, Odinga said the opposition coalition should adopt the formula used by NARC in the 2002 elections, where the parties will retain their identities but support joint candidates to face those of President Uhuru Kenyatta's Jubilee Party. Are they really discussing the same thing? The Wiper Party's National Executive Council held a meeting yesterday where that matter was discussed and a decision arrived at. Now, today we have the Wiper Party Secretary General, Senator Hassan Omar, with us in studio. Also in studio is ODM National Chairman John Mbadi, who has been quoted by a section of the media as saying that CORD should retain its coalition status and not form a party. We also have our resident panelists, Mutegi Njao and Charles Odhiambo. Good morning, gentlemen, and welcome to Cheche. Now, you can use the hashtag Cheche on the various social media platforms to follow and contribute to this discussion. Later on, of course, we'll discuss what is now being referred to as the meteoric rise of Mombasa Governor Ali Hassan Joho and how that could affect the status quo within the CORD coalition, as well as how the CORD affiliate parties intend to act on their members who have since announced their defection to the Jubilee Party. But now let's start with this matter of forming a single party, and let's start with you, Senator. Are you clear of what exactly this proposal is, and if so, kindly share that with us?
First and foremost, I want to make this clarity. To a certain extent, Kalonzo Musyoka and Raila Odinga are not saying the same thing. And yesterday, during the NEC meeting, after the NEC meeting, we decided to clarify the extent to which there is consistency between the two proposals. And I read those resolutions. And even as we adopted our minutes, we were very clear on some of the verbatims that even the party leader acknowledged that he stands guided by the resolution of the NEC. The resolution of the NEC was clear. We are not in contestation about forming or registering CORD as a party, purely for the purposes, first and foremost, of having a presidential candidate who runs under that ticket. We see that candidates is given either or prejudiced, where you say that you are the ODM party leader, or the Wiper party leader, or the Ford Kenya party leader. So therefore, it gives a certain currency across the board to your candidate. So we want you to say that you are a Wiper candidate with a CORD presidential candidate. So that presidential candidate will go with a CORD ticket, not his respective party ticket. Secondly, we know that also in the management of political parties through the Political Parties Act, there are certain advantages and certain resources that are given to us in terms of management of political parties. So within the vote basket, we now have to wait for the good nature of ODM to determine what is accruing to us on the basis of what is perceived as a contribution to the presidential vote tally. So you therefore then have this situation where monies that could have accrued to you as a base or resources to run political parties, which is necessary if these political parties are not to be hijacked by barons and cartels. Now these parties are now this party, one party receives, and then in its own good discretion decides. So what we are saying is then that those resources and that corporate identity and that secretariat belongs to a party that is recognized, called CORD, not an instrument. So for us, we are talking about two separate things. And to that extent, where there is no decision whatsoever of a joint nomination process anywhere, we will cross that bridge when we get closer to it. But the party is unequivocal that we are not zoning any region of this country. Every region is a potential stronghold. The people belong to nobody. The people belong to all of us, and therefore Wiper will reach out to any candidate who wants to benefit from the facility of a Wiper ticket to run for any electoral position anywhere in the country. And
before I open it to my panelists, let's hear what Mbadi has to say, because you've been quoted in a section of the media saying that CORD should retain its coalition status and not change it into a party.
First of all, let me clarify that I think the media quoted me slightly out of context, not absolutely out of context, but I want to put it that there's really nothing much in terms of departure from what the ODM leader and the white party leaders, the two of them said. I want to say that the two are in agreement that we need to have CORD as a party for the purposes of fielding a presidential candidate. I think that is very clear, and that is what Honorable our Senator Omar Hassan has just said, that we would want CORD, because you see, like the last election, the presidential candidate was Raila Odinga, and the running mate was Kalonzo Musyoka, and Raila Odinga was running as ODM candidate. So you see, you find the party, the presidential candidate with ODM symbols and everything, and the running mate is there, Kalonzo Musyoka, who is not in ODM. So there is that inconsistency. So we would want a party that would field a presidential candidate and with the symbol and everything else, and the two are comfortable that we are a running mate, a presidential candidate and a running mate. But what I said is that we are not for dissolving of parties and merging into one, as Jubilee has done, of dissolving URP, dissolving TNA and other briefcase parties that have joined together to form Jubilee. What we are suggesting is we have CORD as a party to field the presidential candidate and the running mate, and then we have ODM, Wiper, and Fort Kenya. Where I slightly disagree with Senator Omar Hassan is where he says that we should not field joint candidates. I think in many areas we should, because that is how we lost many seats, especially in Nairobi in the last election. So there is need for us to agree. It is a matter that still the coalition partners are discussing, and that is why he would have a different opinion from mine. But I think as ODM, we have a strong feeling that we need, going forward, to look for areas in this country that we require that synergy, that we require to have a joint candidate to enhance our capacity to compete with our competitors. Finally, there is this narrative of zoning of the country, which again I realize that our partners have completely misunderstood what ODM means by zoning. We are not saying that we are not going to field candidates anywhere in the country. The 290 constituencies, the 1,450 MCs, and the governors 47 and senators 47 etc. We would want to field candidates unless we agree with our partners that for synergy we may support their candidates in some areas where they have bigger strength. If there is that arrangement, maybe for joint nomination, or in terms of consensus, to just agree that in Suba, for example, if the chairman of ODM is running as a parliamentary candidate, that out of courtesy, Omar Hassan would want to say that we are not fielding a candidate in that area. So that will be determined at that point. I'm just giving an example. But what I am saying is that the zoning means that we are looking at the country and seeing areas where we have strength, areas where we have equal strength with other competitors, which may include even our partners in the coalition, and then there are areas where we have absolute disadvantage. So we are zoning for purposes of nomination. Areas where we have absolute strength, we would subject our candidates to competitive nomination process. Areas where we have limited chances, there is no need of subjecting someone who has offered himself to compete for us in that area on our to fly our flag. So it is only for purposes of conducting our nominations in a more prudent, efficient and effective manner. So it is not zoning.
That's an internal party decision of ODM. That's why we said Wiper is zoning nowhere. You know, that the issue of zoning presupposes that you own the people. That these are our strongholds, that is the fait accompli that Muteginzao is Meru, and therefore these Merus must be in Jubilee, or for that matter PNU. It takes a fait accompli that, you know, you are Luo, so you must be in ODM. And you know, the people belong to nobody. Ask Nyachai. In 202, every Kisi required Nyachai to win. In 207, Nyachai himself was not elected. So this entitlement and ownership, because this is about preservation, because they want us to preserve. This belongs to us, so don't touch it. But parties are there, not as flower girls. Parties are not there to be invited to house parties, per se. Parties are there effectively to broaden their capital, to expand their territory. So therefore, no zone is sacred. Even if in a Jubilee or any other perceived stronghold that we have candidates who are multiple, we will still subject them to a nomination. That was the reason we realized that it might not be prudent to have joint nomination, is we want to test our very strength to the very end because of the flawed nature of our processes in terms of nomination processes. Let's say in Mombasa, the only nomination we are going to have is a wiper nomination between Hassan Omar and Awiti Bolo. No any joint nominations. People meet at the ballot. If it was not a threat last year, it cannot be a threat. Last election is not a threat this election.
Okay.
So I think moving forward, I do agree to that extent, where maybe we can decide, as pragmatism will dictate, particularly in Nairobi where there are thin margins, how to best handle those types of situations.
Yes.
But to create a notion now that Wiper Party, or for that matter even Ford Kenya, have spoken to the SG and the deputy party leader and the party leader that there are no plans to fold up parties.
And at this point I'd like to invite my panelists before we come back to you, because back to the
just allow me an intervention. Actually, I just want to clarify that this zoning system of ODM is not targeting our partners. They are free to do what they want. Actually, we are not even saying that we are saying there is a particular tribe or whatever which is in another party. We are doing a survey as we speak. We are very methodical in our approach and systematic. We are doing a survey, and in that survey is going to reveal to us where we have areas of strength.
Okay. Now, I feel the discussion has moved on to zoning very fast, but back to the issue of whether or not to form a cord party. And I think this is where I'd want to invite in my panelists. Do you understand the difference of what the difference between what they're talking about? Because
the reason why I don't understand is because they were against when Jubilee formed. They said they want to introduce Kanu. Now they want to form to register code for presidential candidate only, which means what? If I want to be nominated to be a senator and use the word code, they will not allow me. Is that what they mean?
No, you can put code as a presidential candidate on your paper.
But has it been agreed?
No, that's what I'm saying. It's work in progress, and at least in terms of the concurrence of principle and the strategy, it's already there.
What I'm asking is this: for me to understand, the registration of code is only for presidential candidates exclusively. Is that so?
That was the general agreements within the Wiper NEC yesterday.
Is that the proposal that Kalonzo presented?
And we refined it, and that's why I said he stands guided by the NEC.
Okay.
Why did we refine it? We looked at the pros and cons, and therefore we said yes, there were certain structural, legal and systemic issues that would require us to cure the defect of saying that Hassan Omar is supporting an ODM presidential candidate while in a CORD coalition as a Wiper candidate. So we said let's just make it simplified. Hassan Omar is supporting the CORD presidential candidate. So therefore you don't have to belabor the point of having all the time to try and use graphics to show that you're actually with Raila Odinga and Kalonzo Musyoka and Wetangula as you are in Wiper with an umbrella and things of that nature. So I think that was supposed to cure that defect. And then not only is it in terms of perception issues, we're also talking about issues to do with real issues that are legal. At what point, when you're talking about presidential tally matters in how parties are weighted with the register of political parties, how we manage our secretariats, how the resources are used to manage the secretariat. Because the whole idea of funding political parties was to remove the issue of ownership, was to remove the issues of cartels controlling our politics, the moneyed controlling our politics, so that there is at least a bit of dignity for political parties to be able to keep a functional secretariat and a functional and pay for a few of its activities. So all this it's been left to the good nature of our coalition brothers and sisters within ODM, that they determine what they think is owing to us. And we thought structurally, if these resources and even structurally moving forward, today we have a COD leader. We call him COD leader. Going to tell people to vote 6-piece ODM. So you see, there are weighty political issues.
So isn't that your concern? Because you are going to run for Mombasa, the governor of Mombasa, as a Wiper,
Yeah.
And Yoho is the deputy party leader of ODM. Isn't that is that the reason why you want?
That's one of the many concerns. It is true. I mean, I'm not dishonest politically to appreciate that there are both intrigues at a micro level and a macro level. So there are two forms of intrigues, and everybody must argue for the best interest of their parties and their candidates across the matrix of intrigues.
There seems to be a lot of confusion, Charles.
I was understanding what Senator Omar was saying until now, where I'm just trying to think about Article 145 of the Political Parties Act. And it's very clear about peddling or selling or talking about policies of another party. Now, to the extent that a party is officially registered as CORD with the presidential candidate, Fred Indimuli, how again does this...
Very possible, by the way.
Oh yeah.
How again does this same Fred Indimuli, who belongs to CORD party, become a member of ODM or WIPA or Ford Kenya?
Can I just...
for that matter?
Yes.
Can I just interject and help resolve this misunderstanding that I see coming from Mutegi and lately Charles? Let me put it this way, that when we arrive at the decision of forming CORD as a party, you can agree on the membership. It can be both corporate and individual. And if it is corporate, it means ODM will be corporate member of CORD, and then the other party is WIPA, Ford Kenya, and if there is any other party that is going to join. But what Senator Omar said makes a lot of sense. Look at it this way. Right now, the party leader of ODM, Raila Odinga, who happens to be the leader of the CORD coalition at the moment, by virtue that he ran as the presidential candidate in the last election on the CORD banner, and there are two other principles. So there are three principles, but he's because of that he's called the CORD leader as we speak. The moment he's named as the CORD presidential candidate, we don't now expect him to discriminate against any other CORD affiliate party. Actually, that is where the catch is, because if he runs as ODM candidate, we expect him as ODM candidates, so to speak. If there is a WIPA candidate in my constituency and I'm ODM candidate, I expect Raila to campaign for me. Yet at the same time, the WIPA candidate also sees him as a presidential candidate. It's a contradiction. It's a contradiction. And I think to eliminate this contradiction, especially if in the event that we are not going to succeed in having a single candidate for other seats in all the electoral areas, then we need to cushion the presidential candidate and the running mate and have them under CORD banner, and so any other candidate falling within CORD is their candidate, and not to discriminate. But the issue of confusion should not arise, because once we have agreed that CORD is going to field a presidential candidate and a running mate, that is very simple. It is going to be a party, but the other parties will be membership, will maintain their membership of CORD. The difference between us and Jubilee, because you did ask that we were complaining about Jubilee forming into a party. The difference is, Mutegi, after CORD is a party, you will still have ODM, you will still have WIPA, and you will still have Ford Kenya and others, which will form in that coalition. I want to take it further and explain that the reason why we are against collapsing of parties is because we feel this is not helping in building institutions. Remember, in 2002 we had NAC forming the government. Immediately thereafter, the next election we had PNU. Yet the same presidential candidate was retained in the ballot. Then come to 2013, PNU was not even a viable vehicle anymore. We had TNA. Right now we have Jubilee. In the unlikely event that they form government, it's the same president and candidate in 2013 who is going to form government in another party. I mean, when will we build institutions to have parties that are
Senator,
viable?
would you still call this a party or a coalition?
It will be a coalition.
So it's not a political party. It's
because
a coalition.
we are not collapsing. We are registering the CORD party for the purposes of curing the ambiguities and the structural and political questions that might arise as a basis.
So in this situation,
as having a joint candidate. But then also, secondly, why we are not this as he puts it, the party will have. The party will have both corporate and individual membership. Why is it that? So there's also political wisdom in it. I believe personally, whether people like it or not out there, we must reach out to Mudavadi. It's almost, you know, we must reach out to Mudavadi. We must reach out to many other players who have distinguished themselves as playing independent. There's Khan, which has refused to dissolve. Muni has already announced that he will support Uhuru Kenyatta, but if he needed a coalition partner, we could provide him a partnership. So therefore, these will be therefore for us as we still evolve as a coalition. We need to allow entry of memberships into this party.
Both of you this question: if it's corporate and individual membership, and the party is purely for the election of the president and the deputy president, why would I, as an individual, want to be a member of CORD? What's the reason?
You will apply your political wisdom in your own context. As Jubilee, you can run as CORD, you can run as your party, and you can run as independent. Those are options that are available to you. You apply your political mind, and but where for instance, and as we said, we are not gagging any candidate from running across the board. So if you come in and you want to be accorded that ticket, you know, within the context of what the frameworks will be, because these parties will be defined by structures and they will be defined by documents. These are some of the issues that we will cure as we put in the guidelines.
Senator, what you're saying, an MCA can run on a CORD ticket, and an MCA can also run on a Wiper ticket.
Absolutely.
So to that extent, it means CORD will have. You talked about structures. It will have structures from the grassroots, as well as ODM, as well as Ford Kenya, as well as Wiper.
As I said, and I see that's why some of the challenges which were discussed in the NEC were put to that technical committee to start resolving. In fact, we raised a basket of issues that we know that we want this for the purpose of the presidential elections. What do we do to corporate membership? What do we do to individual membership? Yeah. What do we do to all sorts of membership? How do we manage, you know, the coalition post-election? Because we're talking about coalition post-election, the presidency, particularly the transition itself. There are so many issues that we're talking about. First, it is a formula to get there to the presidency. Yeah, the technical team, and we are now even very dead serious about a deadline. We do not want to go on a roller coaster of running from one rally in one part of the region to another rally and to another euphoric, you know, process to another one. We are very categorical. I will not release what our demand is.
When you say we, means we, Wiper.
Yes. Musila will make it very clear when we need the presidential candidate. If that is not possible, people then should start to think of alternatives, because we cannot go endlessly, because they say it in Wiper that they've gone through this journey before. So they've learned from the experience, and they need a presidential candidate so that we can go around the country and market. So we even have timelines of when we want a presidential candidate by CORD, you know, made public, so that then we can popularize the candidate, strengthen the party, you know, and do whatever is incidental.
Do you expect that Kalonzo Musyoka will be the CORD candidate?
I expect anything. Politics is a game of possibilities.
So, Mheshimiwa Mbadi, let me understand this clearly. We are faced with a situation where we could have in a constituency an ODM candidate, a Ford Kenya candidate, a Wiper candidate, and a CORD candidate.
Let me put it this way. I don't expect us to have any coalition partners and CORD fielding multiple candidates. That is not likely to happen.
That's exactly what you said.
Because when you talk about individual and corporate membership,
I think we need to understand that we are going to come up with a legal framework for that party and coalition. And once you have agreed on the legal framework, you put the constitution. You can make it in the constitution that CORD can only field the presidential candidate and the running mate.
So democratic right will not be absolute.
There is nothing like democratic right, because we are coming together as Ford Kenya, Wiper, and ODM
and individual members.
It is the same thing as saying that you should allow 2 ODM candidates to go to the ballot because you want to uphold democratic tenets. So that's no democracy. Democracy must be guided by rules. And the rules, once the rules spell out that ODM can only field 1 candidate, that is the rule. If you don't agree with it, then you go to another party. Right now, you cannot have 2 ODM candidates or 2 Wiper candidates. So we can also say you cannot have a constituent party fielding a candidate and the coalition party for fielding a candidate. So that to me cannot work. What may work is the coalition parties fielding candidates, if we don't agree to have a joint candidate for every seat. Because the most ideal situation and the desirable one for me everywhere, including even Suba, where ODM is dominant, I think is over 90%, I would not want to compete against a Ford Kenya candidate or a Wiper candidate, because what would I say? You know, once we now go to the general election, we are selling coalition policies. And we are saying our presidential candidate is so and so, it's either Raila Odinga, Kalonzo Musyoka, or Moses Wetangula, and this is what it stands for, and this is how we are going to form our government. So I'll be saying the same thing as the Wiper candidate, as the Ford Kenya candidate. It does not make sense. So in my view,
in the last elections.
that is why we had issues in the last election. There are issues that immediately we came after election. You remember Mudama wanted us to dissolve and form a party. He had good reasons, but we didn't agree with him. But what we are saying is that it doesn't really, it's not decent. It may happen again.
Let me say something also to you.
What we are describing now means that Omar Hassan cannot run against Joe.
What I'm saying,
that's what we're describing.
No, I'm not saying. Can I just answer that question? Yes. Can I just answer that question?
Yes.
I am saying that you are using the word cannot. That is not the word I'm saying. It is not decent. It is not going to be decent. If we could have a system where Omar Hassan and Joho and whoever wants the seat in CORD coalition are subjected to some kind of process which would allow us to have one candidate. And that is the most desirable.
That is what your party leader is proposing.
That is what my party leader is saying.
Your party leader has proposed.
And Fred, by the way, before he comes in, this is a matter that we are likely to have still divergent views, because it is the coalition partners, Ford Kenya, Wiper, and ODM have not agreed. So when I speak, I'm not speaking with authority of court. I'm saying a desirable position of ODM.
Yes.
He is putting the position of Wiper. But we will discuss. If we find it is not workable, then we may end up with a 2013 scenario. But it is not desirable for us.
Or probably a 2002 scenario where we have a logo for NAC, a logo for LDP, a logo for NAK, and all that.
That's the kind of defects we want to cure. But I think this is work in progress. As I said, there's a technical committee. I think this is one of the mandates that Wiper will suggest that technical committee tries to resolve. But you see, you know, when you hear the reason as to why we need to have these joint nominations, you know, I know it is uncomfortable. Let's say somebody running against you in Wiper. But if you have made it, if I have made myself unpopular, you know, we must give people an opportunity to oust you. You cannot hide behind the cover of a party, not to sell policies that you hide behind the cover of a party. That's why we want to sell ourselves as a party of ideas. We don't want to balkanize the country, because our ideas are not balkanized. They transcend any generation, they transcend any party, they transcend any partisan politics in this country. Secondly, yes, I hear this argument that we lost about 2 to 3 seats in Nairobi. So let's cure that. Yeah, but there were also people who were denied nominations in certain dominant parties, and they sought nominations from other parties, and they won. So there would have been a constitutional or democratic travesty had we not allowed those people to compete in those areas. So that is, I think, we will not use our party structures and law to cure that. You see, Jubilee tried to cure that with law, and it was supported by a section of CORD that, you know, let nobody be able to defect. They're trying to cure a political problem legally. You cure a political problem by fairness and through a political process. So I think we will not allow ourselves to put in legal frameworks and machineries to cure political problems. You need to do your nominations. Even if you're the Secretary General of Wiper, the Chairman of Wiper, you will face your competitors on the ground. Once you emerge as the dominant candidate, then you shall be facilitated to win. But if you do not win as a Secretary General, then you must now retrace your steps and see how you are going to ensure that you come back to the Secretariat.
You know, a big difference.
Question I had for Omar. I agree with Senator Omar entirely that our parties have misbehaved in the past and may continue to misbehave in the future. But when you have made yourself unpopular, you should not be fielded. But the question I want to ask is, why is it that Omar feels that we cannot have a joint nomination? Because then people will also still determine whether you are popular or not. Yes. Between ODM, Ford Kenya, and Wiper, and have a joint nomination so that we get one candidate. Because for me, it is not. I'm not saying that a party should decide this is our area. this is our candidate. What I'm saying is we should have one candidate for the court.
So then what's the difference between that and dissolving the party?
That candidate, you can easily get that candidate if the three parties come together and conduct a joint process. The same way we want to do for the presidential candidate. And we say for Mombasa, we have the deputy party leader of ODM running, we have the secretary general of WIPA running, the treasurer of WIPA running. These are very senior officials.
Coalition.
So in that case, why don't you just dissolve parties and
why don't you just dissolve the parties?
Do everything jointly?
Yeah.
The discussion is just getting heated up right here on Cheche. We're about to take a short break, but we'll be back to discuss this and a lot more. Remember the discussion about the perceived meteoric rise of Mombasa Governor Ali Hassan Joho within ODM and what it portends for the entire for the CORD coalition. We'll be discussing that, plus as we finalize on this matter of whether or not CORD should form a party.
I never thought that we will have to witness their lives being destroyed.
Enough.
I can't bear to see Sugna's state again. No, Grandma. You will have to take it off, dear.
Open a Taosi Junior account today and let KWFT help you plan for their future. Taosi Junior account. My savings, my future.
Have you listened to Hot 96 FM recently? We're the only station that plays timeless hit music from across genres. R&B, the 90s, African. Turn it on and find out what you're missing. Hot 96, all-time hits.
Hot 96.
We strive every day to create lasting memories with our families. Things you look back to and are proud of. From the first day you read him his first book, the day he played his first game of football, and that very day he came home with a degree. Decra Roofing Systems give you that exact feeling of satisfaction, giving you peace of mind to focus on your family and create memories you will always remember. Decra Roofing Systems, only from Space and Style, are made to last as long as your memories.
Are you tired of being overweight? Do you want to shed off the extra pounds? Well, you are in luck. Slim Possible Season 7 is here. Lose more and win big. Where everyone always gets results. Come for the Slim Possible auditions on the 24th and 25th September 2016 at the Royal Nairobi Golf Club along Gong Road off Mushai Drive from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Slim Possible Season 7, where to win, you have to lose.
Still watching Cheche right here on Citizen TV, and we're discussing this matter of whether or not CORD should actually, the CORD coalition should form a party, a coalition party as they call it. And we're here with Senator Hassan Omar, who's also the Secretary General of Wiper Party, and the National Chairman of ODM Party, John Mbadi, and the panelists Mutegi Njau and Charles Odhiambo. And just before the break, the discussion got really heated up because I still don't get it. And it appears like the party leaders had met somewhere and agreed on this matter, but because Wiper Party held their National Executive Council meeting yesterday, matters changed there. Same day, the ODM National Party leader goes out and issues a statement saying exactly what Kalonzo had proposed earlier. So where is the disconnect?
There's no disconnect. You see, ultimately, I'm not sure whether the NEC has met to validate that. So the NEC could meet and to validate. And our NEC has gone beyond just the mere registration of CORD to give certain practical issues that we need resolved in terms of a technical issues. That then, as Mbadi puts it, my brother here, that could form the basis of either the guidelines or the regulations or the constitution of the party, so that then there are no contradictions of sorts. But as the party's position stands right now, yes, form the CORD party, yes, clarify some of the dynamics, but every party will then reserve the right to field candidates across the board. And where we nominate our presidential candidate, because of the obvious intricacies and political questions around how to market the candidate and what reciprocity for the candidates running against one another, then he shall run as the CORD flag bearer, maintaining some kind of pontiff status where you ascribe to the large ideals of galvanizing the presidential vote rather than the intricacies of supporting your party candidate.
Yeah, but Mbadi, you seem to be in agreement with your party leader, but does the party decision by Wiper now preempt your...
No, I think there is no contradiction. I think we need to understand that we have made some positive steps. First, we are in agreement that there is need to form a party. Which party we are not going to dissolve our parties into, but it's going to be a party that is likely to have some corporate membership allowed to
will it have grassroots officials?
You know, now you're asking me details that I think we need a technical team to work on. So I think we need to move forward and say that Wiper has taken a position, especially with regards to fielding other candidates. ODM has a position. Ford Kenya, I'm sure, has a position. We will then meet the three.
But ODM is yet to hold its NEC to ratify this.
No. We had already discussed the issue of dissolving parties. That's a matter that we had discussed, and we had agreed that ODM should not dissolve. We have also discussed as NEC previously. You know, this matter did not come yesterday. It came immediately after 2013 elections, and we did say that preferably we should have joint candidates if we are going to go as a coalition. In fact, then there was the issue of even forming a party called CORD was not on the table. We discussed that if we are going to still continue as a coalition, it would be more desirable for us as a party to field a candidate in every electoral area from MCA. So that is our preferred position. But I'm not saying it is a rigid position, because we have partners. And when you have partners in a coalition, you must give and take. And so we will meet, and I'm sure they have already made a very positive step of forming a technical committee. Probably now is challenging me as the chair of NEC and ODM to also convene a meeting, and we agree if we can also propose names to the technical team so that we give them details of what they need to discuss. They discuss together and report to us. I am happy that our point of departure, to me, is not so serious, fundamental, apart from the issue of the candidate. That is, I think, the issue that we are going to resolve. Then the others will just be the legalities of how do you become a member of CORD if it is to be a party, and is CORD allowed also as a party to field candidates in other electoral areas apart from the presidential and deputy president. I think from what I get from Omar, he's in agreement with me that we should retain the CORD as a party to field only presidential and the running mate, and leave the other seats to the constituent parties.
No, but he also suggested that probably some seats like the Nairobi one, where it's already a coalition.
No, not this. You see where there's a coalition arrangement, like
Nairobi,
it comes from the Wiper Party, and Kidero comes from ODM, but nobody knows that. You know, na mtu anakwenda anasema serikali ya Nairobi ni ya DM. So we want to cure those defects. You go down to various levels of Nairobi County, which Mbadi, we are alive to those issues that we might have lost narrowly. You know, today the reason Alado is not in parliament is for some 1,000 votes, which the Wiper candidate took about 7,000-8,000 votes. We are aware of those intricacies. So we will zero down to those particular problems and try to resolve them, you know, holistically, so that where we can mitigate certain losses. And there where we have, and I don't see any problem if you are mitigating a certain loss by 1,000 or so votes to still have an ODM candidate. But we are talking of the larger frameworks where you are sharing executive power. It is actually in the executive power where things do actually matter.
But the way, just for information, and I'm sure Umar may know that also, that it's not just in Nairobi. Look at Ferris Tobiko is in parliament, courtesy of 2,000 votes. That
even in Turkana,
and the Wiper candidate in that constituency had 7,000 votes. So these are the issues that we need. And you see the tyranny of numbers that these people keep on yapping about. It's because of that. They have Ferris Tobiko, who by default is in parliament. We have seats in Turkana. We have seats in, I would even say Teso, but Teso was basically because of the mismanagement of our nomination process in ODM. The same with Narok. Actually, Narok also is another classical case. So we have quite a bit of seats that we lost, even in the Kisii areas, the larger Kisii, both Nyamira and Kisii County. So I think it is a discussion that when we sit together seriously now, engaging our minds on this issue of nominations and fielding of candidates, probably places like Mombasa, I don't want to appear personal really, places like Mombasa may be different, because if we have a place where we are overwhelmingly CORD is overwhelmingly 70.
One of the reasons, that's why I told her, you know, the politicians become extremely defensive when something is said about themselves. Politics also sometimes also a balance of personal and a broader interest. In the last election, Joho won. Number 2 was Wiper. Overwhelmingly, number 3 was TNA. Overwhelming. In fact, he was number 3 with about 12,000 votes when people were scoring 130, 94. I won. You know, the second person, Najib Balala, had a margin of over 60,000 votes, and then the fourth was our brother, our elder Kajembe. So when you look at it holistically, Mombasa, especially at the county level, it's not a problem. It's only now that people are trying to present it as a problem. So that's why our issues are: why is it a problem? Why was it not a problem then? Because there we are overwhelmingly popular. Assuming a Wiper candidate is running against Mbadi, where ODM is overwhelmingly popular, still he will prevail, but the presidential tally will not be altered. In fact, it might leap up more. It will leap up more turnout.
Are you therefore suggesting that we should have some form of zoning where some areas will be open to each party within the CORD coalition to field candidates, so that you could have an ODM candidate, a Wiper candidate, but in some areas you only it's a block, and you say here you can only have CORD because you do not want to split the vote.
You are asking me? If you're asking me, I think my position was very clear. I said the desirable position for ODM is one candidate for the CORD coalition partner.
Could the reason for this divergence of opinion be post-election? The effects of after election.
Listen,
political parties fund influence in parliament and could this be the reason why there's a divergence of opinion?
You see, experience inform you're going into the next cycle of elections. So there are experiences that we've learned, and experiences ODM has, like losing their seats narrowly, experiences that we have in terms of management of political parties and the coalition. So people have diverse experiences. That's why this technical committee is supposed to mitigate the issues, so that coming out we are able now to learn from experience and move forward. Musila and what I call ODM Kenya's experience is that we need to name a candidate soon. They say they have been through that experience. I was not there, but I saw it playing out in the theater of public domain. They said they have an experience where they went to a rally in Mombasa and never came back into the coalition or into that arrangement. So I think what happens is there's always that experience, and before that everybody ran helter-skelter, and probably the results and the history of this country will have been different had we not come out of Hadija grounds and ODM Kenya went and fielded a candidate. There will not have been a Kibaki second-term presidency, or Kibaki presidency, and we'll have been talking of a different kind of history of this country.
You talked about money. and from the political parties act, and the kind of experience, it's like you experience some shortcomings when it comes to division of money, when it comes from
in terms of managing political parties. Listen,
yes,
you know, we are blessed that we don't have looters and patrons of the party and cartels that run us. That gives us a lot of space to exercise ideological contestation. We are resisting our parties being taken over by cartels. I mean, I'm one of the vanguards of that, because it makes then political competition extremely difficult, particularly for young people. It becomes difficult to have ideology when your entire front line are looters of the yesteryear Kanu regime, or you looters of our resources. How then do you implement a robust land reform system? How do you fight corruption with this type of people? So you need to dismantle the cartels, even in terms of the management of the parties. So the spirit of law was to allow some kind of dignity to these parties by giving them a share so that they can pay their rents, they can have a secretariat, and they can have a minimum set of programs, including member subscriptions. So there are various challenges in terms of even legal personality. So how would you determine if in the votes Raila Odinga got, it's just an assumption that you're making how much Kalonzo Musyoka brought on board. So we say that it's a shared basket, and therefore then we will run a code coalition which will have purely code programs. And therefore we don't have to go and ask ODM and we start having a back and forth about what is it that is owing to us. So we just run a coalition. So there are programs of the coalition, and your member subscriptions can facilitate programs of your party.
So these same funds will trickle down to the parties because they still have to run their affairs.
But we can always determine that. You see, like right now we can say you have an equal share of parties in terms of what is incidental to running the affairs of that party, and then you strengthen the coalition in terms of the activities. So the presidential vote determines to a large extent the resources available to parties.
Are you satisfied with the...
Clearly, going by the fact that they have to react, for lack of a better word, to what the Wiper NEC has done, I think it's now clear that maybe at some point they will reach a consensus.
Yes.
They will give and take, like Mheshimiwa Mbadi says. So let's wait and see what comes out of.
I know in the Political Parties Funds Act, I mean the Act governing the Political Parties Funds, there was this lacuna on the votes brought to the presidential vote tally being used as a formula. But again, we have changed the acts lately, and it is more accommodative to other parties. Not that probably Wiper would have gotten more than they're getting now, and
there's only one party actually that benefited from that amendment.
Yeah,
Wiper has benefited from that amendment because it's the only party that was pushed up.
Yeah,
you know, we reduced the threshold.
To get more money.
Yeah.
Not more money. We are getting money.
They will now get a direct. You see, why Wiper didn't get is actually
got something through.
Because you see, even URP and TNF fielded one presidential candidate, but URP is getting. It's also the threshold of the number of representation in terms of how many MPs, how many senators.
We lost on the first one by 0.2.
Yeah.
We had 4.8 as opposed to 5, and the law is the law. But then MPs cured that by bringing down the threshold to 3%. Yeah. They're saying that a nation, a party that controls about 3% of the national vote is influential enough for it to be supported, so that it builds itself. So now, from this quarter, Wiper is fast about
sure he will tell you that we have been handling them very well.
Yes. But they are not complaining. But the senator here has insisted on deadlines about the choice of the presidential candidate. And they are very clear, they want very soon. What is the view of your party?
You see, we had, to me, I think we had made some steps as a coalition. We had formed a team that was looking into this matter, 6 of them. It would be a bit like usurping the powers of that committee that we have formed to look into the matter. But I hear
timeline.
What would take you know me, sometimes when I have information, you know me, I'm a very open person. I'm almost tempted to share it out there. You should wait for, we will make a declaration around that on the 2nd of October. We have a rally in Mombasa. We have our first you know, set of activities, yes, as Wiper. And I think what we're going to do is to publish our broad resolutions. When I mean soon, I don't mean next month, but I mean at least early next year, and we will give the cutoff. So that
this talk about forming a party help that decision in selecting a presidential.
So that for me, I thought
I
was a bit reserved. If Wiper took that decision of giving timelines, I think to me it's not a very good idea, because really when it comes to matters of coalition, giving ultimatums don't help.
It's not an ultimatum.
As ODM,
but clearly, we are going into an election within a given timeline.
By the way, can I tell you, this misnomer that you must have a presidential candidate for a year to sell to win is wrong. Remember, when Kibaki won in 2002, Kibaki was agreed on in October, and elections were in December. The issues that happened in ODMK then, the circumstances were completely different. These were individuals who were in the same party, competing in the same party. All of them, or both of them, had ambitions for president, strong ambitions, and they had not learned from experience of division then. So, you see, at that time, everyone wanted to outdo each other. And there were also other external forces pulling people left, right, and center. So you can't just use that template to fit in the current arrangement. In the current arrangement, we have these leaders in their own political parties. So you cannot catch them. There's nothing. Remember that time, actually, Raila Odinga almost remained without a party. If you have time to discuss with some of the members who were in the LDP then and later moved to ODMK, that they were at a point, they were in a position that they didn't even know whether they would run for their seats because they had no party. And Raila had to look for ways of getting Mugambi Manyara, who had earlier registered ODM, which we now today have.
Fred, the point is, the circumstances are completely different. I wanted to raise the same issue of circumstances. Even the circumstances that prevail upon now is that we must also hit the road and start marketing and popularizing the candidate. We cannot continue to create a situation of anxiety. Is ODM going it by itself? Is Wiper going this way? Is Kalonzo joining this way? Person is Mudavadi coming on board?
Because it's already created another school of thought. We must settle
that conversation. And then number two, as we come, and fortunately, also there are people with a certain experience. Kalonzo Musyoka is experienced in this nature. He's run around political platforms and rallies only for that coalition to break off very close to the elections. Musila was there. I've been told, late Mutula told me about what it was like. So what we want to do is to in fact, then there are certain political challenges we'll face. If you name candidate X and don't name candidate Y, you have to go and have a narrative back at home. If you do this thing too soon, too close to the election, by the time you have gotten people to understand what are the circumstances and why you still need to support the coalition, the bus will have left the station. Yes, so it is important. And when we talk about time, look, the Democrats and Republicans have their candidates for a November election 5-6 months before time. Those are some of the templates we must borrow from. Yes. So we are looking at that possibility of several months to the election.
You know, the American democracy cannot be compared to ours. I tell you, when you are fighting an incumbent in a system like ours, the element of surprise, to me, is better than putting.
So you're still counting on the element of surprise.
Because you see,
when you want to surprise us, so Raila Odinga is not
I'm not saying the element of surprise within the coalition. The element of surprise to your competitors. I'm not talking about within the coalition. Even in the coalition,
there's really no surprise so far to the coalition.
What we have agreed, unless some people are dishonest, I think we have largely agreed that all these candidates are agreeable to us. So there would be no surprise to me if today Kalonzo Musyoka is named as the presidential candidate of court. And the same with Wetangula. And so it should not surprise Omar Hassan as the Secretary General of Wiper if Raila is the presidential candidate. So the element of surprise I'm talking about,
Raila is not.
The element of surprise in my view is to our competitors who should not really know exactly where we are heading.
And talking about your competitors, because the machinery seems to be very well organized, because they've already decided their presidential candidate, the running mate. They're talking about even 2032.
No, but
while 8 months to the elections, court coalition, you've just made the situation even murkier. Now you don't know whether it's a fact.
Fred, I think you are also perpetuating this propaganda that our opponents are.
You are here to defend it.
I want to tell you this, that any government that is in power and the presidential candidate still has an option. The president has an option of running. Its predictability is a must. Who expected Uhuru not to run? Who expected another presidential candidate in TNA or Jubilee or whatever you call it? This is not strange. Even in KANU, when Moi was going to run in 1997, everybody knew it was Moi. When we were going to, and by the way, Moi lost, were it not that he rigged the 1997 election. Even after rigging, he still did not have absolute majority. But he was, everybody knew he was a presidential candidate. Now come to 2002, Uhuru was named a little earlier than Kibaki, but he still lost. So the period you have to sell yourself as a presidential candidate is not automatically going to translate into votes.
But on the 3rd of next month, I think you're aware.
Yes,
there's a meeting where the leadership of all these parties will meet. Precisely because your argument is that you need to push it as far as we can get.
The element of surprise.
There's an element of surprise also, but there's an element of irreparable disintegration. Yes. So therefore, we need to look at what is the best. In Moipa's wisdom, which I share with, the surprise we can have is to have that candidate named some few months to the election, because yes, we are dealing with an incumbent who's already probably given the perception by the media that he's far ahead, he's merged his party. But as you put it, we're running against an incumbency, has its own unique disadvantages in terms of perception, in terms of state power, in terms of resources, in terms of many incidentals to politics. So what we need as a party, therefore, is also to have that candidate in good time, so that we can market a distinct vision, ideology, so that we can go around. We do not want to start mitigating fallout a month or two to the election. We do not want to be running left, right, center. You see the theater that all happened on one day, 4th of December 2012, when Mudavadi ran into his party. Then there was the Ibilisi, Shetani theory. Then we were dancing ourselves at KICC. So we want to avoid that type of theater and see how best we can embrace one another.
I can see Bonamutegi Njao is itching to ask a question or two, and you had some concerns as well. But we'll do that after the break. We need to take a short break. Cheche is still on. Remember, the hashtag to use is Cheche.
Are you tired of being overweight? Do you want to shed off the extra pounds? Well, you are in luck. Slim Possible Season 7 is here. Lose more and win big, where everyone always gets results. Come for the Slim Possible auditions on the 24th and 25th September 2016 at the Royal Nairobi Golf Club along Gong Road off Mushai Drive from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Slim Possible Season 7, where to win, you have to lose.
Cheche, where opinion counts. This is what you're watching live right here on Citizen TV, and I'm here with Secretary General for Wiper, Senator Hassan Omar, the National Chairman for ODM, John Mbadi, and my panelists Mutegi Njao and Charles Odhiambo, discussing whether or not Code Coalition should form a party, which would be Code Party, and if that is what we would say. But we want to wind up this discussion. But even as we do that, even as the Code affiliate parties mull over the proposal on whether or not to form a party, there's also the matter of promoting these parties individually. Of course, we can see a party leader for ODM, Raila Odinga, is in Coast region this week, and he's popularizing the party, and there's been talk of a 6-piece voting. Wiper, we understand from yesterday, you said you're going to start a strategy, a campaign strategy. You're going to launch it very soon. Now, it's the same time you're discussing this matter of whether or not to form a party. Then intrigues come into play. On one hand, whoever is pushing really for this ODM re-energization is none other than Ali Hassan Joho, the Mombasa governor, and there's this talk about a perceived meteoric rise of this governor. Of course, it brings about a lot of issues. The senator here is hoping to unseat this governor. He's also part of the team that is challenging, or rather forming this idea of whether or not to form a party. Of course, you shot down your party leader's proposal yesterday. How much of that
we qualified our party leader's proposal.
How much of that was influenced by the fact that Joho is actually on a rise?
Rise, no rise, there are issues in Mombasa and that need to be mitigated, issues that need to be resolved. We will bring once the conversation focuses on Mombasa and over and above what you have termed as meteoric rise, you will see that it's a bubble. But that bubble is in this regard. But we spoke about this issue to this extent, not about Joho, but about the 3 ODM governors who want to succeed Raila. Oparanya has made it clear, Joho has made it clear, and Kidero has made it clear. This is the only way, the only scenario this can happen within the arrangement, in our view, is if ODM runs it alone and Raila either wins and agrees to a one-term or Raila loses. And therefore there is need for the party to re-energize itself for the 2022 contest. Number 2, because if you are talking about a coalition arrangement, there will be something, we will expect a quid pro quo. That if we said it's Raila Odinga, then Raila must make sure that within that arrangement, gentleman or legal framework, that he hands over to the next in line. We are already in concurrence as a coalition, even if it is Kalonzo Musyoka ourselves as a party, that it will be a one-term on the basis that we need to be dynamic to move a transition in this country. But we are looking for a government for all Kenyans, not a government of Kambas or Luos or Luyas.
When you say agreement for one term, is it just within Wiper or within the coalition?
In Wiper, the position is if, because that's what also informed what informed the MOU, that you had 3 principles, you needed to be dynamic. So therefore, if you said, like look what Ruto and Uhuru are saying, that there is no vacancy for the next 20 years, then you fail to attract people who have ambition, who want to come on board. That's why we want to keep it short and snap. So that's why when Raila acceded to the fact that if he were to be elected, he would go for one term and hand it over to Kalonzo. So
if he were to be elected.
Yes, we are not in competition with that. We are talking about the spirit. So we are saying that if now there is necessity that we have this type of an arrangement, again, as a coalition, and our focus as Wiper, we said, is 2017. 2017, let us make it very clear. All these sideshows by some of the court governors are not interesting. So what we need to do now, as focus in 2017, is to say that if we are going to be in that arrangement, Raila has to commit himself. If let's say Weta and Steve O has to say he's the presidential candidate, how there will be quid pro quo. So that means, therefore, then all these issues and hula baloo within the coalition or within the ODM party are null and void to that extent. But if they have decided to go it alone, then definitely one of these 3 governors is going to succeed Raila, either in concurrence that he's going to be a one-term president, or he's going to, maybe in the unfortunate event that he loses.
Yes, Bonambadi, of course, the Joho factor is definitely a shot in the arm for ODM, because the party appears re-energized. We saw the crowds in Nairobi this past Sunday. But how does it play in this whole discussion of forming having joint candidates for certain seats? Remember, you already have strong candidates for the same seat.
I think, first of all, let me put it that the increased activities that you see in ODM is not by default. It has been designed. We have discussed, even with our coalition partners, that each party needs to re-energize itself, because the strength of ODM will be the summation of the strength of each individual party. So you can see how, and we gave ourselves 3 months as ODM to move around the country and re-energize our bases and move out.
So it has nothing to do with an individual.
So it has nothing to do with an individual. You see, Raila Odinga started it from Western. It was tied. Then the media decided to tie it to a Babu issue, which was really not an issue, because we had planned this way before. In fact, we postponed it. I don't see why Joe is being singled out, and I'm not trying to downplay what Joe has done. Joe has really done what he should do as deputy party leader of ODM. But you remember,
but you are the chairman.
Just a minute. We have in the hierarchy of ODM. In the hierarchy of ODM, we have the party leader, the 2 deputies. We have the chairman. So I am subordinate to both Joe and Oparanya. Remember, when Raila was in Western, Oparanya took the lead, and both Busia, Vihiga, which are not even within his counties, he led the entire process of the rallies, and he did very well. The same with Kakamega. Come to Joho. Joe has taken his job with zeal as the deputy party leader. Someone may ask why now. Why now is because we are moving towards election. So the party has to be re-energized. I want to tell you that the Mombasa rally, for example, which was well organized and led by Joho, the decision was arrived at immediately we finished our function at Grand Laiko Regency, the celebration, when we met our life members, and we toyed with the idea of either having a rally in Kisumu or Mombasa. We chose on Mombasa because there was also a burial in Kisumu and the perception issues, the burial in Kisumu. So we picked on Mombasa, and the party leader actually delegated to me to communicate with the leadership in Mombasa. And I spoke with Joho and the chairman of ODM, and Joho was very excited to do this. And he did what he did with excitement. And you can see other people also came in, the Kilifi governor and leaders across the country to make that day a success. Sure. We planned for, let me just put it clearly so that Kenyans can understand, because I think this propaganda may go too far, because there is this propaganda that Joe is now going to be the deputy, but the running mate of Raila. Joe has made it clear that for 2017 he wants to retain his seat as the governor of Mombasa, if the people will allow him to. So you see, after this event of Mombasa, there were discussions around it. By the way, we planned for the Mombasa rally within 1 week. I was accidentally out of the country, but we planned for it within 1 week, and it was successful. Then the party leader asked, and if you read our constitution, the party leader's functions, the deputies, are actually the party leader's functions. The chairman has his distinct functions, but the deputies work as the party leader. So the deputy party leaders were given a responsibility, and Joe took it up and organized a rally together with Kidero in Nairobi. On the issue and the question, now you are asking about the chairman. I am the chairman. Recently I held a function in Narok, a very big function with the youth. I was in Mosiro in Kajiado the other day. I was in Kisi the other day. I am doing my functions as chairman. Our deputies are also doing theirs. SG, we are a party of vibrant
around the Joho issue, and of course the other issues that we talked about earlier. Senator Omar mentioned perception. Mheshimiwa Mbadi has talked about propaganda. Now I'm wondering, how come CORD or WIPA or ODM are not countering these perceptions and propaganda by creating an equally... I mean, Jubilee has never waited for this to be able to bring out that perception.
So what is there in your issue to be countered?
I mean, if it's a propaganda issue that Joho is going to be Raila's running mate, I mean, why don't you...
So how do you want us to go out there?
But he has just said, in my reading of it, he just said that Joho is not Raila's running mate. He's saying that he wants to retain his seat in Mombasa County. So it is a perception issue, but we dealt with that issue, and we said that the only way that Raila, either Kidero, Joho or Oparanya can succeed Raila in 2022 is creating a perception that maybe these governors, or there is a decision, or maybe if in that unlikely event ODM runs by itself. Otherwise there will be an element of quid pro quo, an element of reciprocity. So therefore within the coalition framework, those declarations are as good as just trying to up your stakes for 2017, telling me, you know, I want to have a big... I can equally make that type of a declaration that I'm the guy you need in 2017 and 2022. So these are political semantics that have to be discarded for what they are. They are real issues that are dealt with.
Mutegi, you have a very wide smile when Senator Hassan Omar just said it's simply perception. Do you really agree? Are you comfortable with this general dismissal that Joho is not really...
I think he's created himself a niche. Apart from coming to Nairobi and teaming up with Kidero, he's going to Eldoret. He announced he's going to Eldoret. Why all the way from Mombasa to go to popularize the party in Eldoret?
He said he'll go to Murang'a.
But you see, Mutegi, you're missing the point. You're missing the point completely.
Which is?
Joe is not just the governor of Mombasa. Joe is the deputy party leader of ODM. I was in Kwale. And I'm MP for Suba. I was in Kwale not as MP for Suba. I went there as the chairman of Orange Democratic Movement. Joe is just showing vibrancy as the deputy party leader of ODM and selling ODM agenda.
Just to tell him, at some point, the party gave me the full charge, the Wiper Party, to run the Masongaleri elections.
Yeah.
So I went there and led the team of the local leadership. That didn't mean that I was now, you know, usurping or now declaring my ambitions. I have gone to represent the party in some areas in Nyanza. I was called sometime. I have led party activities here in Nairobi. So it is nothing extraordinary. In fact, the simplest of things for the CORD coalition to do is to mobilize a rally in Nairobi. Mudhama and Orengo have been doing it almost repeatedly over the matters IEBC and Kwa Kenya. So when you exaggerate, there's nothing wrong that stops anybody. We are moving to Kisii, and then I will be going to Garissa. So that doesn't mean that parties have taken a collective decision to energize themselves. How one wants to position himself is different.
So Mheshimiwa Mbadi, are you saying from your explanation in the hierarchy of leadership at ODM, exit Raila, enter Joho, or enter Oparanya? Is that what you're saying?
In terms of leadership of ODM, if Raila was to leave the party leadership,
it would be Joho or Oparanya.
It is Joho or Oparanya, because the two of them are the deputy party leaders.
And considering
from there, you come to the chairman.
And considering the wave that we saw in Nairobi as compared to Western Kenya, then obviously it's like Joho is...
I've just spoken about Oparanya organizing rallies in Busia, Vihiga, Kakamega, and I've made it very clear. That's why I don't understand.
Not in Eastern.
Not in Eastern. Nobody was in Mombasa with Raila, but it's likely we have given the two of them, okay, the mandate to lead two different campaign teams. This is our structure. We are working on it. But again, let me also demystify this myth about Joe trying to up his profile. What is wrong with that? I would support. In fact, the problem in Kenya, and which I see even with some of our strong supporters in ODM, is when you try to come up strong, they start fighting you. I don't understand why. In fact, I was speaking with Joe the other day, and he was telling me about people who were attacking him left, right, and center, that he was coming to impose candidates. And he was getting so worked up, because that was not his intention. I said, yes, the moment people see you becoming a bit strong, they will start with all this kind of... how many times have I been accused of, when I go to a constituency and I'm accompanied by aspirants, they say I've gone to endorse Fred, and I've nowhere in my speech I even mentioned that people should vote.
Let me tell you,
so that is very normal.
To the coast region so many times, you know, we are a bit of we have respect for one another.
Yes.
I would have loved to have been in any outfit going forward with him. So he will tell me courteously. He's in Kwale. You were in Kilifi the other day. You've gone to Malindi.
Yes.
If Mbadi had said he wanted to become president in 2022, probably now you will have caricatured that to mean that Mbadi now, Raila is handing over to Mbadi. Now you see he's going to Kwale to make these inroads. He's going to represent the party leader in a function you've gone to many places in Turkana.
Yes.
And therefore, so you can easily draw a conclusion with that. So I think these are things that analysts can argue. They can always
again,
analyze.
by the way, by Joe saying that is going for 2022 election, there's nothing also wrong with that. Oparanya said it. Even myself, I may go for president in 2022. The bottom line is, if we have an agreement in 2017 within the CORD coalition
for one-term president,
and we agree that once this person runs one term, then someone would be supported, then that person within the coalition,
is there such an agreement to be for one-term president?
No, we haven't come up with any agreement. We had an agreement for 2013, which didn't work because we didn't win a presidency.
But for
chances are that we may go into 2017 with another agreement, in which case other ambitions may be subordinated. If it is not going to be subordinated, then it means you will operate outside the CORD coalition. But that does not stop anyone, even Mutegi Njau, if you are a member of CORD coalition. I don't know where you belong. By the way, this thinking that it is only Joho, Paranya, Kidero who wants the presidency in 2022 is also not correct. It's not accurate.
But there are others.
I may also want others, the most strategic. The time has not come.
Laws of power.
Have we come to a point where we are close to but the point is, have we come to a point where we are saying we have lost the declaration?
Gentlemen, thank you so much.
My brother.
Gentlemen, I'm informed time has run out. Whether or not CORD will actually form a party, we have to wait and see. Whether or not Ali Hassan Joho, the governor for Mombasa, really he plays into this as a huge factor. No one can tell right now. This has been Cheche. Of course, we had National Chairman.
But we just said
John
former party. Yes. Because you don't know what is the chairman of
it's work in progress. We're speaking work in progress. Yeah. Senator Hassan Omar, Secretary General for WIPA, thank you so much. Of course, my panelists, Mutangi Njau and Charles Odhiambo, thank you so much for having come to Cheche this morning. We'll see you next week.